Good afternoon. This is Gus Almashny from Advanced Sports Analytics, and in this video, we're going to discuss some key players to select for the Major League Baseball DraftKings tournaments on Tuesday, April 18th, 2017. And we're going to start with an ace, Max Scherzer of the Nationals. His record speaks for itself. He's got great strikeout numbers, and you clearly want someone with great strikeout numbers, especially if they don't pitch all that well, like Syndergaard, I believe, or DeGrom over the weekend. Still put up a lot of points, even though he didn't get the win, and did give up, I think, 2 or 3 home runs. So here we have Scherzer pitching against the Braves. And some of the guys have hit him pretty hard, but the player I probably would be most afraid about would be Freddie Freeman. And, of course, he's 2 for 11 against Scherzer. And we see that there's 48 strikeouts and 20 walks and 179 at-bats. And the average and OPS numbers are kind of mediocre or whatever. So Scherzer should be fine dominating the Braves. And anyone can access this information. But what we really want to focus on is going a little deeper and stuff that you can find on the Advanced Sports Analytics site that you really can't get anywhere else. So if you look at Max Scherzer's distribution for 2016, when you compare DraftKings points to per $1,000 in DraftKings salary, it's a very tight distribution, which is good. That shows consistency. In fact, we see the density is over 0.45 at the peak there, close to about 2 to 2.5 DraftKings points per $1,000 salary. We also see a little bump at around 5. That's very possible. Scherzer's not cheap. I believe he's over $12,000. But there's a good chance he can get you 25 to 30 points tonight and definitely be the man. So Scherzer's a very good option. He's well worth the money, very consistent, and plus should have no problem taking care of the Braves' top hitters. Then we got Yu Darvish, another ace. So if you are going to buy both aces, you're going to have to be creative with offense, but we'll talk about that in a minute or two. Yu Darvish has solid numbers against the Oakland Athletics. Alonso only 1 for 14. Chris Davis, a hitter I'm most afraid of, but 3 for 14. Joyce 1 for 13. Lowry 5 for 20. The catcher Stephen Vogt 6 for 22. So again, information that any of us can access. Of course, you got to look for it. Good strikeout numbers: 40 strikeouts, 17 walks, over 134 at bats. And again, he's pretty much owned the A's when you look at average and OPS. But again, we want to get into more detail. So again, on the Advanced Sports Analytics site, if you take a look at the DraftKings points per $1,000 salary, for last year, Darvish had a very high density, close to 0.5. That's where we see the peak there, about 2 to 2.5 DraftKings points per $1,000 salary. Did have little struggles, so we do see a peak off to the left there. But we can expect Yu Darvish to also to have a great game against the A's. Again, going for about 10 to 12,000. Can't remember his exact salary, but he's over $10,000. But we could expect 25, 30 points from him as well. So if you can get Scherzer and Darvish, you can feel very comfortable with pitching. But then we got to look at offense, right? And usually we like stacks. The red stack could be worthwhile. First of all, Billy Hamilton is a beast on the base paths. He is definitely one of the best base stealers. I believe he's successfully stolen 9 bases of his last 10 attempts, while Orioles catcher Castillo is behind the plate. So he's kind of owned. Castillo, I believe there was one game last year where he had 3 stolen bases. So that's very significant. Reds' offense has been great, 5th in runs so far this year, 3rd best OPS. Orioles pitching has a worse batting against average. So we do see the Stars lining up pretty well for the Reds. They are at home. And Kevin Gausman's ratio for DraftKings points versus $1,000 salary is all over the place. We'll look at that in a sec. But again, access this information for anyone, right? We have Cincinnati's OPS is really high. They score a lot of runs. And, of course, if Billy Hamilton gets on base, there's a good chance to get some stolen bases. So if you might want to put Hamilton in the stack with some other players. We'll also talk about the correlations with the players also in about a minute. Baltimore's pitching, not great. So their ERA has been fine, but they definitely give up a lot of hits. So there's a good chance that we can get some runs scored here. And again, Gausman has a decent distribution, but he's kind of all over the place, especially there's a region where it's negative, so that is kind of concerning. So we definitely feel the Reds can get to Gausman today. And if we look at correlations, Duvall and Votto, even though they're not the best hitters so far for the Reds, but they were strong last year and have been strong for a while. Very strong correlation, Votto and Hamilton, very strong correlation as well. Suarez and Cozart have been 2 of the better hitters for the Reds, and of course they have a pretty good correlation at 0.21. Peraza probably something I'd avoid, not a positive correlation there. But if you, and well, Jay Bruce is not with the Reds anymore, he's on the Mets, but we are going to talk about Mets stack in a little bit. But yeah, if you do some stack with like maybe Hamilton, Suarez, Cozart, or somehow sneak in Votto and Duvall, but they are expensive, especially if you're going to go for two aces like Darvish and Scherzer. You have to get a little creative, but you could find some good value here. The last stack we'll talk about with the Mets, they're crushing the ball, second in home runs. Phillies pitching is allowing third most homers in a league where his OPS of .826. Zach Eflin's ratio is also all over the place. Positive correlation with several Mets hitters. And again, anyone can access this information. Mets have been crushing the ball, 22 homers. If we look at the Phillies, they do allow a decent amount of homers, 21, and their OPS is horrible. The second lowest, I believe, is like 0.04 away. So it's not, for 40 points, whatever you want to interpret that. So it's not great. The Phillies are not a good pitching staff and very wide distribution. We don't like that at all. Very inconsistent. Eflin could be all over the place. You could have some good games, but you could also have some very bad games too. So don't be surprised if the Mets get to Eflin early and there's several homers. And if we look at the correlations, I mean, Cespedes has been kind of the man. He's a little bit expensive. You could go for Denard as a catcher. Check to see if Conforto's playing. Walker's another one that's interesting. We do see a strong correlation with Cespedes and Cabrera if you want to go that route. Flores, maybe you can go that. They do have Jay Bruce now. We don't have the data on that. The season's still young, but that's another option. So in summary, we like Reds and Mets stacks, and definitely the aces, Darvish and Scherzer are well worth the money. Good luck to you this evening.